to Sprinkle Some Love with a Cause by Trisha Mullin. Today we have Meggan S. here. She was diagnosed with GP or gastroparesis, and I kind of want her to tell her journey and kind of start off a little bit, Meggan, about when you noticed something wasn't right with your body. Hello, Meggan. How are you?
Hi. Sorry.
No, you're fine.
So, I noticed something probably when I was 16, I want to say. And it was just kind of, I would eat and then it wouldn't stay down. And it wasn't like an everyday thing. It was like once every few months. But it was enough to concern my parents and myself. So we went to the doctor, and the doctor just pretty much said that I was making myself throw up. So I just kind of left it at that, because at that point it wasn't severe enough where I was being dehydrated or anything like that. It didn't get bad until I was 23, and I had just woke up in the middle of the night and started throwing up. I threw up for hours, and my roommate heard me and came into the bathroom, and she was like, let's go to the ER. And even back then I was like not a hospital person. I hadn't gone through all of the crazy stuff yet, but we went to the ER, and that's just kind of where it started. I was hospitalized for about a week that time, and they said I had the flu, and they released me, but from that moment on, I could not eat or drink anything. And I would go into the ER, they would do fluids and blood work and say I was fine, and see my primary, and she would do blood work and say everything's fine, just to drink some Gatorade, and I would be fine.
Gatorade's definitely not the answer.
No, yeah, that's not the cure.
I so wish.
I couldn't even keep an ice cube down, I was so dehydrated, so malnourished, but I was defeated too, and I got to a point where I believed that what they were telling me, they're like, you have to be doing this to yourself because tests don't show. So I stopped going to the ER, just kind of tried to keep everything down. I was like, you know what, they must be right. There's something, it's all in my head.
Right, it's in my brain. I'm making myself sick, or I'm a hypochondriac, or am I lying? Like, you start questioning yourself, like, wait, no. I know I'm sick. I know I'm in pain. I know I'm vomiting. Like, I know this is real because I can't get out of bed. Like, I know I'm not. So how old are you now?
I am 31.
I'm 33. So, okay, when I was 16, okay, that makes a lot of sense. So even at 16, though, you couldn't have got a diagnosis because GP wasn't even thought of. It did not have a name. So that is why we are often at that stage, at that age of life, back then, called liars, hypochondriacs. We're doing it to ourselves. It's something we're manifesting. I've been manifesting a cure, so I don't think that's working. But I don't think we can manifest the sickness to that extent either. I do believe in manifesting sicknesses and pain, and that's something we will talk about through the show, but I definitely don't think we can manifest this. That is not it.
Yeah.
So at this point, because there is no even diagnosis, no matter who we cry to, there is going to be no answer for help yet. So let's move on to further along now. What got you back into the office to say, you know what, I'm not doing this on my own. They've got me messed up. I'm not lying. Something's wrong.
So, have you ever heard of or seen the movie Stigma?
No.
Okay, so it's a religious movie, but in it, she can't even lift her feet off the ground when she's walking, and my roommate, who happens to be my best friend's mom at the time, she said that that's kind of what I reminded her of. Like, I just looked like a zombie. I could barely move, and I just dragged my feet and was slunched over. I had no energy to keep my head up.
So how old are you now at this point, would you say? From 16 till this point?
I was 23.
Oh, okay.
So she finally was like, okay, let's go to the ER, and I was for it at that point. I felt at that time that there was no way I was gonna live.
Yeah, after 7
So
years of being in denial, not in denial, of the doctors being in denial, and you know when you're sick, and 7 years from 16 to 23 where you're fighting for your life with no help.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now you're at a breaking point.
I remember we walked into the ER and they're like, it's like a 7-hour wait. And she was like, well, wait then. And so we sit down and I just remember like, I just was having a hard time breathing and my arms like were going numb. So she went up there and she's like, can you check her blood pressure again? And they were like,
oh, I'm sorry, I lost you. So Meggan's back with us. Our phone's actually disconnected, but she was at a point in her story where she was asking, having the person that was with her ask about the blood pressure in the waiting room of the emergency room. So if you want to proceed with your story, you're more than welcome, Meggan.
All right, yeah. So they were like, yeah, let's check your blood pressure. So they like waved me over, and as I'm walking up, I just dropped. I collapsed. And I came to with them picking me up and putting me on like a gurney. And I remember my best friend's mom who was with me, she was just crying. And I remember thinking, pull it together, like snap out of it. So they did they took me back and they did a big bag of IV fluids, a bolus. They ran it really fast and did blood work and some tests. And I had a very mild heart attack from the lack of nutrition. My potassium was pretty much non-existent in my body. So they just hooked me up to potassium and magnesium and fluids right away, and then they admitted me to the hospital. And from like that moment on, it was every single day was a different test, from scopes to colonoscopies to MRIs. Just so I can't even think of all of the tests that I went through. But the last one they finally did was a gastric emptying study.
That's the winner.
And that showed that, yep, and that showed I had 90% of food left in my stomach.
90% is a very high amount. So, especially if you weren't already eating and feeling good. That's even higher because that means you're not eating 3 meals a day plus snacks. So 90%, how often would you say you were eating meals at that point?
I wasn't really eating at all. I would eat some crackers.
Yeah. I kind of would have assumed that because normally when you're at that giving up point, like, and you're like, I know that something's not wrong, you really can't eat and you're starving for a couple days at a time. So to still have 90% in your system means that it's way higher than 90 if you were to actually have eaten, 3 meals a day for the week, every day for the week prior, it would way be higher. So just to give the audience that science part right there, but continue. I just wanted to point that out. Lord.
Yeah, so this is kind of where like the trial and error starts,
And you're still in your early 20s at this point, correct?
Yep. Yeah, I was 23, and they said, okay, there's this medicine, and it's a nausea medicine, and it also helps with mobility. It's called Reglan, and you're going to be, like, all better. You're going to take it for a few months, and you're going to be all better. I was like, great, sounds good. So they start me on Reglan, and I get kicked out of the hospital, and still couldn't keep anything down. And then I started, within a week, getting those severe side effects, the twitching and having severe anxiety from the medication. But I kept taking it because it was supposed to help, right? And I was trying to give it a chance to help.
But the side effects just weren't for you. The side effects weren't for you. Like, it sounds like you were having multiple side effects. So then at that point, what did they determine to do for you next?
So the next thing, so I ended up in the hospital again, and I was in this hospital for a very, very long time. And they ended up having to take me by ambulance to another hospital that kind of is more equipped with gastroparesis. So I get there, and again, they make me do another emptying study, and just to determine,
the amount
test. And again, it was like 90%, 95%. I can't remember exactly.
Right.
But they were like, okay, we're going to do Botox. And I was like, okay, sounds good, you know? So they did Botox, and that helped for about 3 months. And then everything just kind of came back all at once. And I was like, well, they could just do Botox again, right? And they're like, yeah, we could do it again. So they did it again, and it didn't help. And they did it again, and it didn't help.
Okay.
So they did it about 3 or 4 more times,
So
and then
where were you receiving
the
Botox injections? Where were they administered?
In the pylorus.
Okay.
Yeah. So after that, they did a pyloroplasty. So they take that pylorus, which is like the sphincter going from your stomach to your intestines, and they kind of cut it open, and then they cauterize it and make it stay open, so it's not supposed to close again. But so I had that surgery, and again, I wasn't getting better. So then they finally put in a pacemaker, and I got a lot worse with the pacemaker. I was going in every 2 weeks to get it adjusted, and at that point, I was like probably 120 pounds, and I went from 120 pounds to 78 pounds.
Oh, so, yes, that's a big jump there.
Yeah, and I just looked like a skeleton. I looked horrible. Went back into the hospital, and they're like, okay, it's time for a feeding tube.
How tall are you?
Huh?
How tall are you?
I am 5'6".
Okay, so to be 70-something pounds and that tall, just for the audience to realize that's not a good factor at all. Not at all.
No,
so
I mean, my sister was always like much smaller than me growing up, and I couldn't fit into her clothes. They were just, everything looked like, garbage bags on me. I looked really bad.
Yes, when I was 75 pounds, I looked like bones with a little bit of meat, but no meat really, just skin, like dangly skin. That's how I kind of felt like, and I felt like you could see the bones more, and I would have to, like, my chest plate, I was very self-conscious about, because I felt like in certain shirts you could see it way more, and I was more bony, and I would try to wear necklaces or flamboyant necklaces to like hide the bones.
Yeah, I remember actually my friend came to visit me, and we took pictures, and she posted them on Facebook, and I saw them, and I sobbed because I looked like I was dying, I looked so horrible,
Yes, it is. And then the feeling people give you too when you're at that point in your life and they come over and they're like, oh, and they just, the way they look at you, like, what they're feeling and thinking, but they're not speaking it, but so it makes you feel like this sense of feeling that I really don't know how to describe, but you start realizing more what's going on around you or how worsen you have gotten because of the reactions from your loved ones of when they look at you. Because we see ourselves in the mirror every day, so we don't realize we've lost like 15 pounds because we were losing it a pound here, a pound there, 2 pounds here. But then over time, when we're not fitting our clothes and those things happen, we start to realize. But the minute that our mother or our sister or a friend comes through the door and they're like, whoa, what happened? What's going on, girl? Why are you losing all the weight? Or, oh, Lord, you're getting worse. And they're like bringing the flags to the attention, like, on it. I know that was really hard for me at that point too, because I would have to be like, justify. How did you feel about having to justify your sickness, like at that point, because of how small you were, or comments on Facebook from people that really don't even know you that are commenting or making assumptions?
It was hard. I was lucky though. People around me they saw what I was going through, and they tried to understand, but I did get those comments like, well, have you tried this, or have you tried that? Have you tried this tea? Have you tried yoga? Have you tried this essential oil? Have you tried crystals? Like everything. Like, well, maybe you need if you ate more, I would get that comment a lot. Well, you need to eat more. And I'm like, what you don't understand is, like, I physically can't.
Food is like poison right now to my body.
And I don't know, like, I mean, I would tell them, I wish I could, but I just kind of, I don't know how to explain it any more than I physically can't eat. But people can't wrap their minds around that. You know, if you don't have this condition, you can't understand, you know, because eating is just part of our everyday thing. So how people think, how could you not be able to eat? Even nurses and doctors, you know,
Right. They're oblivious. And not only that, but then they're wondering, girl, if you couldn't eat, you wouldn't be alive. And last week, I just seen you eating some soup or some chips or whatever you were eating. Like, what are you talking about? And they kind of like call you out as if you're alive. So I wouldn't say I couldn't fly if I could, like, you know what I mean? Like, I can't eat. Like, I'm not gonna lie. Not only that, but people that have, like, they go to bed, their food digests, they wake up, they take a poop, they go on about their day, they might take another poop today, and they continue to eat, they go on about their day. They don't think about that poop alone, how hard it is just for us to be able to have that. They don't understand how hard it is when we put food in our mouth. Within 20 minutes, we are in severe cramps as if we have food poisoning, and then we are vomiting up those foods because that is exactly the repercussions of the food. It's food poisoning to us, and it's literally poison to our body. And it's not the food itself, it's the fact that it's going through our digestive system and it can't chop it down and it can't process it and break it to push it to the next organ. So when it does move to the next organ, it's not in the right, form when it hits that organ. So now it's that organ, the second organ or third organ is forced to work harder to try to reprocess the things that didn't come processed to it because we didn't digest it. So it's like a ripple effect depending on how much you can digest or not. And then for those that can't even get it to make it to their digestive system, which is kind of like where you are, because you're at a 90%, 90% means it's staying in your stomach, and then it is spoiling there, creating like a mold or infectious diseases or bacteria that are toxic. And then when they breed with other things going on in there, depending on if you had a lot of milk this week or if you had a lot of, this, they're going to create different type of infections. And then we're on top of us being bulimic, it feels like, because we're vomiting 24/7, but we're not making ourselves vomit. But we have no control. So it's like this pain on top of food poisoning, because any food that we didn't vomit up that made it to the other organs is causing us huge pain until it works its way out. And the same way with food poison, how you're on the toilet blowing that toilet out and your stomach is hurting with those bubble guts. It's like we have that every day from everything we eat. Some people are like, oh, that Taco Bell or this place gave me food poison, I'll never eat there again. Well, we'll never eat again is how we feel, because we can't choose to eat there or there. But then if we never eat again, what will happen? Oh, we already know we're going to get a feeding tube eventually or we'll die. So it's like we can't not eat. So at this point in your 20s, girls are popping bottles, finding them a good little boyfriend, maybe already popped out their first kid, arguing with mom or trying to figure out how to get their own place, might be trying to figure out how to pay their first rent or, utility bills. They're entering into college. So at this point, you're trying to learn how to digest your food and how to get food in your body without eating it. And you're trying to learn how to get nutrition, and you probably have no ideas about what vitamins and minerals are needed in the pyramid every day. So now you're trying to educate yourself on daily essential vitamins and how will I get them into my system without actually putting them in my mouth. Because anything that goes in there is going to come back out of there, because with a 90% weight rate, that means your digestive isn't digesting anything. It's just sitting in there until it's time to come back up like a bucket. And it's time to dump the bucket, because the bucket doesn't have like a plug, almost like that cooler where you like let the water flow out the back and so we don't have to dump it. Well, there's no slow flow to your bowels. It's just sitting there. There's a 10% or a 5% depending on which test you're looking at from your results. But that 5%, we're going to be there for years from that one. Yeah. And that cheeseburger alone, a cheeseburger on the average person, it can take 60-something days before it's fully digested. Yeah. That will be, let's say, 4 months before that cheeseburger leaves my stomach. Yeah. So watching our diet and learning what to eliminate from your diet, how did that, in your 20s, that's hard. So how did this affect your relationships with your friends? Because I know that friends that are popping bottles and haven't even figured out how to pay mortgage or rent yet are not going to be as compassionate and understanding of the issues that you're dealing with right now at that point in your life. How did that affect, like, the ripple effect of those relationships?
Oh, well, I was a partier, you know. I was the life of the party. Everybody called Megan to have fun.
You're the fun Megan. I love those. Those Megans are fun.
But I couldn't have fun anymore, you know. I was just in and out of hospitals and having procedures and tests and all this stuff.
Yeah, that's not no fun now.
I found out very quickly who my true friends are, and I can tell you there is a very small few of them that I still have. My best friend, her and I have been best friends since first grade, and she's been there for me and hasn't left my side, you know. Thank God for her.
Good.
But I did have a good group of friends, or I thought was a good group of friends, and the second I couldn't be fun Megan anymore, you know. There was they just left, and there was times where they were sick, or, you know,
and you've been there.
I would drop anything to help them, but when I got sick, they were so quick to drop me. So that was hard, you know, and it's an identity change too, you know.
It is, because going from fun Megan to you're not having fun, because you can't be fun when you're not having fun. So going to these hospitals, these doctors, and being a form of a guinea pig, because at this point we were in the trial and error generation for this disease. We just got a diagnosis. The FDA just approved meds. You were just finally prescribed those meds, and we were trying to give you help, and we're learning whether they work or don't through you guys. So now at this point, you know, being the guinea pig for them isn't fun, because we're learning our own bodies, and we're learning it in a way we never thought we had to. And we're learning, these are things that people do without thinking about it, like a reflex. Like, they don't think about, you know, when they blink their eyes, or they don't think about how many times a day they're here, like, to listen. I don't have to think to listen, to tell myself to listen. Like, you know, and you can hear, because it's easy for you, because you have good ears, you know. So, like, I have a bad ear, so I have to often listen, or be like, shh, hold on, what'd she say? Hang on. And I'd be like, oh, could you repeat that? So, or like certain depth perception. So it's like the things that people don't take for granted are like whole world, the only thing we pray for. Like, and some people just have it so easily, and they don't take care of themselves with those abilities either. You know, to be.
And that's frustrating to me too. That part, you know, like, I know a few people who have things that could be very well managed, and they just don't. Or I have cousins that are, you know, addicted to drugs, and I'm like, you could have had all the health in the world, and you've just, you know, like, ruined it. And I did nothing to choose this path, you know. So it's hard.
I've done that. Sure. I've had somebody that's been close to me that was on drugs, and I'd watch them basically over the years try to kill themselves through drugs, without actually trying, because that's not their goal, but inevitably that's what they're slowly but surely doing. As I fight for my life, and, you know, I watch them try just poison theirs, and then I was envious for a while, of course, because it's hard to not be envious when, you know, you don't want to be here and I want to be here, and you're doing everything to not be here. And then you tell me, oh, if there was anything I could do to help you, just trade me. Like, we could do that, girl. And you'd be happy, I'd be happy. We'd just be happy campers. If only we could do that. Like, if that whole blood sister thing, and we could switch bodies, or whatever movie that thing is, let's do that. Where's the book on that? So, you know, we've prayed for things, and I found myself at a point in my life kind of where I was feeling that time like, God, why me? Or, I hate you, God, right now. Why did you do this to me? Why did you make this me? Why did you choose me? What is it about me? I kind of feel like we all go through that, questioning our faith on this, or calling out our faith, as I say. And have you ever had a conversation where you've yelled at your God?
Oh yes. I mean, I still have them often.
Me too, but he knows that. I can't lie, he knows. We just had a conversation the other day.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where you're like, I mean, for me, I think of everything good and bad I have done in this world, and I'm like, the things that I've done that aren't so great aren't bad. You know, they really aren't.
You're like, wait,
bad.
Did you do this to
I'm
me
like,
because I did that one thing?
yeah, you know, like, oh, I forgot to hold the door open. Like, this must be my punishment, you know. But so yeah, I definitely have a hard time too. You know, I question my God a lot, and my faith has been very much tested, and I still have those trials. You know, I still go through it. I pray, but then I'm like, what? Who am I praying to? You know, if there is a God out there, then why am I suffering so bad? You know.
Yes, I do. I've done a lot of religion searching,
I have a lot of
church hopping.
You know.
I've done a lot of different types of baptizing through different religions. I've searched them all, and I thought at some point in time, maybe you're not my God. Maybe some other God is my God, and maybe I've been praying to the wrong God. I think that's my problem. I'm going to switch gods. I'm going to switch churches. I'm going to go from Baptist to Catholic, or I'm going to go from Apostolic to Pentecostal, or I'm gonna go from like I've been through. I've you know, maybe Jehovah might like me. No, he wasn't for me either. Okay, maybe like no. I always find myself back at God. Okay, well you are my God, but why are you doing this?
Yeah.
Like why did this happen? And I find myself back on my original religion because none of the rest were for me, and I wasn't really religion searching. I was more of like looking for the right God to answer those prayers, which. When you're looking for anything for yourself, it doesn't work that way. You can pray for others and your prayers will be answered. But when you pray for yourself, it's a little different. You know, anything for your self benefit, God is more about like doing for others and then it will be done for you in return. So I kind of like started doing so much for others and I did see returns. I did see things change for me. I did see good. I started like self-healing, the rocks and crystals that everyone tells you to do, and you're like, that beautiful little rock isn't going to get rid of this, and neither did the Gatorade. Okay, so you know what? Give me the Gatorade, give me the rock, and what else you want? Some sage? Okay, you want me to hop on one foot? We're going to try this. So, do I take 3 sips or 4? So, I've done it all. And the rocks and crystals didn't help me the way that people said they would help me, but they helped me in a different way, mentally. Yeah. So I've kind of learned when we get ourselves out of that depression, we get ourselves out of that why God, why me stage, we start learning about self-healing. And we kind of do pick up some of those things that we just said, fine, give me the rocks, give me the crystals, hold my Gatorade, you know, because I can't have that beer. So alcohol doesn't sit well for me. So I couldn't go drink with my friends whenever it was party time. I could be the designated driver, but designated Trish isn't so fun, and designated Trish doesn't care, and designated Trish doesn't want to watch you all get drunk. So I'm not gonna go.
You get that FOMO, right?
Yeah,
like, and then like I want to be doing that, you know?
Yeah. So how did you start your self-healing journey? What things did you incorporate? And along the way of self-healing, I know there's more treatment. So right when we feel like we've healed ourselves, the doctors always lay another one on us. So let's hear about yours. I know that you have some, I'm sure.
Well, for me, so I was living in California, and all my family is back in Nevada, and I decided I wanted to be closer to family, and that's been what saved my life. My sister has 4 daughters, my brother has a son and a daughter, and so that's just kind of what I've done for me is their kids like 110%. And I could be having the worst day ever, but my niece will call me and say she'll come over and just lay with me and watch a movie, and all my troubles go away, you know, because I'm like, they're my purpose, they're my reason.
Yeah, it's those simple things.
Be with them, that I'm gonna keep. My darkest days won't ever be too dark, or I can't come out of them for them. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like I do a lot of, try to work out. That's another thing to, self-heal, but the energy thing is kind of hard, but I'll work out, and then I write, I journal. Journaling has been helping me, and that's actually just been within the last year. Like, the pandemic hit, and I was like, you know what, I'm going to start journaling and getting all of this off my chest.
Journaling did wonders for me too. Yes.
Yeah, that's helped. And I've tried therapy here and there. I just haven't found a therapist that works for me. You know what I mean? It's kind of, you have to kind of try a few on before you find the one that you like. So I still am trying to find one, because I know, like, I think it'd be good that I can have somebody I can talk to that isn't, family, that can just listen,
It is. And that's kind of something I'm trying to do with this whole support group, sprinkle some love. Everybody that's kind of joins the podcast, I have a group that we kind of go into, and there's a couple other people already there too. We've got, I think, like 200 people now. It's not that big yet, but sharing your journey there, doing our follow-ups there, just having a group of people that suffer from similar conditions, or the same, depending on what your conditions are, and sharing their stories or asking questions. We all kind of go through the same trials and tribulations when we're facing diseases of any sort. So I'm starting that community, and hopefully we see that grow. And if you want to contribute your story or say anything there, or hopefully relate to people there, you're more than welcome. But I definitely think that finding some people that you can relate to definitely helps. And finding people that make you feel good, like you said, your nieces, or like the rocks and crystals that make you feel mentally good, is really good. And anything that detoxes your body from the bad, like the journaling. So to have something from one of those three categories is great. And then the fourth category, which is having someone to relate to or talk to, is a bonus. But if you can get any of those four started on your journey, those four things aren't cures or treatments, but they're a lot better than the Gatorade, and they definitely do a lot more for your body, because your mind and your body are one. So if you noticed, you were sicker in the very, very beginning more before you got your diagnosis, because the power of not knowing does make us sick. So it's, but we have no control, because you can't make a diagnosis pop up, which brings insecurity. Because now I know it's not cancer. Now I know it's not this. Now I know I might not die, or I might if I don't do these things. But to not know if I will or won't die today or tomorrow, or if there is anything I could be doing or should have done because I don't have a diagnosis, does make us sicker. And to be able, once you get that diagnosis, though, you have to face it, and face it with one of those four equipments that we just mentioned, like something to detox your thoughts on, something to balance your energy on, or to manifest your love into, or someone that makes you feel loved to, surround yourself by. Because those positive things really does uplift your mind, and your mind, body, and spirit are what holds your organs in, like that's your body. So if those are off on top of your body, you're just going to have a bigger battle. And if you could get some of those things in order along your battle, then your battle itself is not as hard, because we often find it that if our life isn't in order, our mind, body, and soul isn't in order, then our disease is not in order either. And our disease can't follow any form of treatment plan, because we're not balanced ourselves. So how can our disease be balanced? Our disease is part of our body, and it's part of our mind, body, and soul now. So if we don't accept it to make ourselves whole again, we often find ourselves in lots of different ruts, or finding ourselves falling down rabbit holes, and lots of different treatments, or lots of different religions, or lots of different anything to find answers. But treatments plans are part of the answer, but you have to get that mind, body, and soul together, and a very good support system. So who's your support system?
So my parents, for sure. My mom and dad, they have seen me through a lot. a lot. There was a time when they told me I had 2 weeks to live, and my parents needed to get to the hospital to come see me and say their goodbyes. And I remember thinking, hold on long enough to see my mom. I just wanted to see my mom.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. So at that point, what procedures were you having done, like before that, to where they felt they couldn't help
that
you?
was before the book. So I was just like pretty much. I couldn't keep my head up. I couldn't keep my eyes open. I would wake up and there'd be a nurse there, and I'd fall back asleep. I'd wake up and there would be a different nurse there, and I'd fall back asleep. And I remember them saying, "Your mom and dad are coming," and I remember, just wanting to just see my mom's face one more time. And when my mom walked into that room, I don't know, it like lit a fire in me, and I said, "Nope, I'm gonna get through this. We're gonna get through this." And that
your mind and body picked up. Your mind and body picked up having that person in the room that you love, and that brings you that energy. Brought that that fight back to you that you just dearly needed.
Yeah, and she's usually the one to do that.
Yeah.
I've had a couple scares like that. Before they put in the feeding tube, it was again, if we send you home without a feeding tube, you probably won't make it another week. And I don't know why, I just felt like getting a feeding tube was like accepting defeat to me. Like it felt like not like a win to me. It felt like I was letting this illness take over if I got a feeding tube.
I know, I agree.
For whatever reason.
I agree. I felt the same way, and I turned mine down several times. And I said, if I need the feeding tube, then I'm not fighting hard enough.
Yeah, that's exactly how I felt. And then my niece called me, my oldest niece, and she was crying. And she said, "Keep fighting, Auntie." And I was like, "Okay, put in the feeding tube." So I got the feeding tube, and
kids will change your life, and when they want you here and they're begging for you to stay, you find the willpower or the way that you didn't even know you muster up some type of energy from somewhere.
Yeah, it's crazy. I say it all the time. If I didn't have my nieces and nephew, especially, I don't know that I'd be here today, because they think, I don't want to miss all these milestones in their lives, and my oldest niece is going to be in high school next year. Like, she's going to be doing high school sports. I don't want to miss a second of that, So I will do whatever it takes. If that means getting 25 tubes, like, I'll do whatever it takes to not miss this second of their lives.
I do, especially because I have children. So my children have been a lot of my reason of why. And my mom, I was through a similar issue where I was in the hospital, and I had a staph infection from a surgery gone wrong, and they weren't sure what was going to happen. And my mom came down, didn't think I was going to make it. But once my mom got there, I kind of knew right then that I'm not going nowhere. I got this. My mom's here. She's going to spend the night with me. She drove like 3 hours to come here. And, oh, by the way, she couldn't see me at first because I was quarantined from C. diff. And once I got out of my quarantine, she still took the risk to come and be in that C. diff room. And she still did it all. So yeah, that having that support system and someone to ride that ride out and see this last wave through, realizes, girl, this ain't my last wave. What you mean? Like, no, But when we go through those waves on trials and tribulations alone, we're just ready for it to be over. Quicker than we realize, because we're not ready. We're just so sick of fighting, and when we're alone and we don't feel that love at that moment, giving up is easier, way easier. So yeah. After that feeding tube, so how long did you have that feeding tube for? How long? Like months, years?
So they did a GJ tube, and I was still like having the throwing up and stuff, so I was throwing up my feeding tube. So they had to separate the two, and then it wasn't very long into having them separated, and that was maybe like 6 months after I got it that they separated them. So I had a separate G and a separate J, and at that time I got a port put in so I could get hydration. but I was running my feeds really, really slow, and my J tube would just leak and leak. And one day it just was pouring like a waterfall. So I called my doctor, and they're like, "Okay, come in," and they had to pull it, and they put me on TPN. So I was on a feeding tube for about a year before they put me on TPN, and they did that because nothing moved. I mean, from my esophagus down to my bottom, like nothing moved. So I just got a severe infection that turned into sepsis.
Mm-hmm.
So I was hospitalized with sepsis for a while.
So how long was, like, about a couple weeks, I would say, or did you go home with a PICC line after the staph infection?
So they took the port out, put a new one in, and then I went home, and I did antibiotics for like a good month, and then so since then that just kind of been, and that 4 years ago I've been on TPN for 4 years. I'm hooked up to an IV 20 hours a day, and kind of where the GP aspect to stop. My infection was so bad, I had to get an ileostomy, a temporary one, but they just recently made it a permanent one 7 weeks ago today. So,
and for those of you who don't know what that is, how does that help your body?
So basically, they remove your colon completely, and they take your small intestine and bring it out through a stoma on your stomach, and you have a bag over it, and that's just kind of where, if I were to eat, the food kind of just goes straight out into that.
Yeah.
And then any waste, so if my body I don't really eat, so I don't produce a lot of waste, but you still do, so everything just comes out through that bag, through the stoma of my stomach, rather than having bowel movements, regular bowel movements.
Yeah, because that 10% in the beginning, it was like a slow drip, and it wouldn't do anything for you, and the longer that you stayed undiagnosed without the proper treatment, the more that 5% went to 2%, 1%, 9%.
Yep. So my colon didn't work at all. They did like a SIDS marker study, and that's the pills that you swallow, and then it's all these little trackers kind of spread out, and those were all still on my stomach when they checked, and so they couldn't even tell if my colon was working or not, so they did the temporary ileostomy, and after almost 2 years, they were like, yeah, your colon's not working, so we just need to remove it because it's going to cause more issues with it being in there. So that was my last little journey, but being on TPN has been hard too because my gallbladder stopped working, so I had to have that removed, and my liver is pretty damaged and is going to continue to be damaged because of the TPN, but that's the only thing left there really is for me to do at this point,
So with the liver, what are you considering your next options?
Right now it's like, they showed me a picture of like there's a healthy liver, a kind of damaged liver, and then a more damaged liver, and then it gets bad from there. So I'm like at the level 3. Okay. And they are just kind of at like a standstill because they, with my intestines not moving, I can't get all the toxins out of my body, and that is causing damage to my liver and to my kidneys, but more so my liver right now. So they have me on like milk thistle and all of these oral stuff, but they don't, oral stuff doesn't really digest. It's kind of like where I'm at that point still, and for the last 8 years, where it's like, okay, we'll try this for a month, and we'll try this for a month, and then we'll try this for a month, and until something else goes wrong and you need a surgery and we need to remove this, so it's kind of, it's a constant battle that you feel like you're never winning.
I feel you fully. I do.
They have talked about dialysis, but
I was going to ask that next.
Do dialysis, I guess, and I don't know if that's just where I live.
So they won't do dialysis. Why? And what stage is your kidney? Because I know your kidneys have to be filling at this point from the toxics and from the liver backup.
They have, Yeah, there's like an acute kidney failure. It's not
Oh,
bad
so
at this
acute.
point, but
Okay.
they,
Yeah, yeah.
um,
I wouldn't do dialysis yet then until it gets to a further
yeah.
stage because I got kidney failure, I got kidney disease, chronic kidney disease, stage 3 GA1 is what it was at, and then it progressed to like 3G2 or 3G2A1 or some crap. I'm not really understanding, but when I was at stage 4 at first, before it went to stage 3 back, I needed dialysis then, but I didn't do them. I was scared, and I was
Mm-hmm.
waiting, and I kept hoping that the medications from infectious disease and the PICC lines and all of that good stuff would work. But I was lucky, and I was able to monitor my kidneys and stuff like that, and my function through the urine stuff, like doing the urine test every day and
Mm-hmm.
knowing my sodium levels and all my other stuff and knowing what to add or what to take away or how much potassium to add each day helped
Mm-hmm.
me to where it pulled me back out a little bit. And then I
Yeah.
didn't need dialysis. So at this point, we were thinking a while, like about the beginning, about a year ago, that I was going to need to do dialysis or eventually like a new kidney because of the other issues.
Mm-hmm.
And I was lucky to bypass that again. There's
Yeah.
times that we think that it's going to be the worst, or like I just thought I was going to have organs removed as well, and I was lucky to not have to yet.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I know what you're facing, but you've actually went through the process of having those removed, where I didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel for you, but I definitely want to shed some light on that because a lot of people don't realize that this disease, if it's not properly taken care of, ruins your whole digestive system, which is all your organs.
Everything, I mean,
There's not an
when they told
organ that doesn't digest something that goes into your mouth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when they told me like that, they're like, your gallbladder's not working. We need to take it out right now, and that was right before we went into lockdown for the pandemic. So they canceled my surgery, and then my doctor called me. She's like, I just have a bad feeling. Like, we're gonna get you on an operating table next week, and I was like, okay, sounds good. And my gallbladder was so swollen and it was so full of like black slush that it was almost burst. Like it was seconds away from bursting, and that had ruptured in my cavity. That would cause more sepsis, more infections. I don't know if I can handle sepsis again. Sepsis takes a toll on your body like no other.
No other.
It's very rare that people can get it more than once and live through it.
I've been septic 3 times.
Wow. That's crazy.
The last time
twice, and
the last time I had my organs, a hole ruptured in my bowel, my colon, my stomach, my intestines from the Da Vinci, the robotic surgery. It was the second time the robot had operated on me, and it had ruptured holes in multiple organs and didn't know. And for 8 days, I was sick and septic, and that's how I actually developed the kidney disease and Grand Cacamana, or however you say that, and there's like 4 other infections and abscesses, and then later masses. And I'm still 3 years later dealing with the inevitable effects from those toxicities from my organs and bowels leaking out into my actual like stomach area, like where your organs sit, and leaching onto them all. It's still a battle. So yeah, I don't think that if that happened, like I'm scared to have any surgery again ever, no matter what the doctors say I need. I've had 3 surgeries go wrong out of 40-ish.
Yeah, I can't. I'm not sure how many surgeries I've had. Like somebody tried to ask me this weekend, and I was like, more than 60 for sure, but I can't. Like I can sit here and try and think of every single one, but I've had more than 60.
Yeah, I can say that too. Like, cause I always say like I've had more than 40, but the other couple weeks ago I was going through all my medical records and I was realizing, oh yeah, I forgot I had this done to my bladder like 4 times. I've had this done for my GP like 3 times. I've had this done. Oh yeah, I've had that done. And like once you start realizing, like at some point in time we just kind of quit counting and we just keep going with the flow. And this is just another one of those lucky moments where this too shall pass, hopefully, and this soon will become a memory. And then we'll see what's next. But I've kind of always realized that I'm going to enjoy the moment because no matter what's next, it's never more positive than what I'm going through now. It's always kind of worse, I feel like, um,
Yeah.
or almost
It
as
seems to
bad.
be that way, huh?
Yeah. So I kind
Like,
of just
I
started
had
living.
somebody ask, I'm sorry,
No,
I'm
no, go
sorry.
ahead. I just started living, is what I was saying.
I've had somebody say, well, you've had how many surgeries and you're not used to them? And I'm like, each surgery is harder and harder on your body. A body is not meant to be cut into that many times. You're not meant to go under anesthesia that many times. So no, it doesn't get easier. It gets significantly harder with time on your body. The healing process takes longer. All of it.
Yep.
It's
And
mentally harder, physically harder, all of it. It's hard.
if
It
you have,
definitely does not get easier.
if you have adhesions or scars, like from, like, scar tissue does not heal the same way as regular. So they cut you open in the same spot every time. My belly button looks like I've got I've got multiple lines over the same line, and it looks like the same guy done etch to sketch. You know how the etch to sketch isn't straight, and it's like he's done it, but it's from layers of layers where each doctor tries to go a little slightly above the old scar or slightly below to where they all kind of now line up to where it looks like
you together.
Yeah, where you've kind of taken multiple, or like it's not just the belly button. Like if you have the tripod one, or if you have this one, there's like 4 holes or 3 holes or 6 holes based on what procedure they're currently doing. And each time there's still old holes, no matter where you're poking them, because I've had all of these procedures multiple times. So to just the incision alone, then you have the lasers, and all of my organs have adhesion scar tissues on them. So when you're lasering scar tissue, it takes longer. So then you're on the operating table twice as long. So the normal procedure today might be 20 minutes, but since this girl's done the procedure 4 times and has scar tissue or has this, it's going to take us 120 minutes. You know, and then the healing process might take the girl with 20 minutes 2 weeks. It's going to take us 6 to 8 weeks.
Yep.
So it's never easy when it's multiply over and over and over and over again. Like eventually you think, oh, your body will snap back, because like after you have kids, the first couple times your body, like you still got that floppy weight from baby number 1. Baby number 2, you kind of start slapping back. Baby number 3, you just slap right on back. And like there's no slap back with those procedures. It doesn't work that way. Like I wish. Yeah. So after kind of all of that, where are you at currently in your trials and tribulations with this gastroparesis?
So right now we're trying to figure out. I have heavy metal poisoning toxicity because of my liver and kidneys not flushing things out. So right now we're trying to figure out how to get those down to a healthy, normal level. And basically it's just managing symptoms right now. You know, I'm on every nausea medicine you can think of. I'm on my TPN, and I do hydration, and I do potassium. So, right, that's just.
What's your food supplement?
What was that?
What food supplement are you on? Like an Ensure, or what are you? How are you getting your meals?
Just through the IV nutrition.
Okay.
So, yeah, I mean, I will. I mean, like you said, you kind of got to live in the moment. And so if I feel hungry, or a peanut butter and jelly sandwich, and I will pay the consequences, you know?
Mm-hmm.
But that kind of helps too. Like mentally, you see people eating and you're like, oh, I'm so hungry. Even though I'm getting the nutrition that I need now, I still want to eat, you know?
Yeah, because your brain knows to put that food in your mouth, and your brain knows what it tastes like. And sometimes tasting food changes your life just to be able to taste it. Have you done the ice cube regimen?
I haven't heard of that.
Okay, so for ice cubes, you just, like, you know how babies have no teeth in their teething, and like people will make Kool-Aid ice cubes or put fruits and vegetables in them, and then they put them in the little net things, and the kids will chew on them for hours. Well, girl, put some food in ice cubes and like yogurt and freeze them and all of that, and then suck and chew on them. You will get taste for a long time, but the amount of food that you're actually consuming is less. And for babies, it's more of a teething thing. For us, it's more of a taste thing. So I would make and Amazon sells these popsicle pouches that are empty. that you can fill yourself. So you make a pitcher of Kool-Aid or ice cream or smoothies or shakes, and you fill them little bad boys up, or yogurt, and or mix yogurt and ice cream together, and or yogurt in your smoothie, or peanut butter in your smoothie, and you put all them things and freeze them, and whenever you want to get a taste for some food, you pull out one of them popsicles and you go to town. And it doesn't take anything to digest any of that, and when in the little bit of portion it does isn't going to be nowhere near the damage, because at this point, if you continue your peanut butter sandwich regimen, that's a real solid, and peanut butter is even harder solid to break down. So you're above and beyond cheating there, girl. So you should start a little smaller with your cheats. Because the wear and tear, it's kind of like,
that's a great idea.
Instead of robbing the full bank, let's just take the one wallet from the guy outside. Less crime. But yeah, you're going for the whole vault there. And you've got way too many issues that a single solid for you is like a prison sentence. Or death sentence, really. So you want to really eliminate those even more, even though cheating is so fabulous and it's the best thing in the world to be able to cheat. But cheat in a positive manner for your self-benefit. Anything that is in a frozen, that you can put in a freezer pouch and freeze, is going to be easy. And anything you blend, I'd blend everything first and then stick them in those pouches. And even soup. You can blend chicken soup and blend that boy right on up to be fully processed. Even applesauce, you can refrigerate them packages. You can do different versions of them. And those are great. And then they even have those little pouches of applesauce and yogurts and things that you open the lid and it kind of has like this top on it where you suck it, and it's in like and it reminds me of like a Capri Sun pouch, but it's applesauce.
Mm-hmm.
I love those. I love anything that comes in one of those pouches that I can suck out that little hole. So I would definitely stick with some of those items for your cheat list. And if you get like a little basket for when you want to cheat together, because if you're continuing to have these other procedures coming up too, you definitely want to get your cheating in order, because right now you're on like thin ice, and eventually you might get over this hump. But while on skin ice, any cheating could break that ice.
Yeah.
So I would definitely reconsider. I love peanut butter and jelly sandwiches too, though. But I would reconsider, because we have to cheat, because it's like we have to find a way to feel normal at times. Especially we feel like around certain people that hyphen the fact that we're sick. We really try to be normal around them, and I always just pack a to-go bag, and I have all kinds of snacks in the car that I feel are stomach-friendly for me. I did the elimination diet, so like I also eliminated things that didn't help me or benefit me and caused me pain, and I just didn't know why. But I know after I ate that, I was in pain. A couple times I was like, I don't know for sure if the pain was from that. I'm going to try it again. And I would, and then I'd be like, oh no, it's from that. I can't eat it. And I ended up finding I eliminated all meat except for turkey and chicken, and once in a blue moon, a beef jerky stick or a processed hamburger from like McDonald's, like a McDouble or something. But real hamburger meat, oh no, if it doesn't come processed, no. Can't do it.
Yeah, I haven't actually ate meat in 8 years, so yeah, meat doesn't work. Any meat doesn't really work.
I'm at the point chicken isn't working either. I'm at the point I'm so sick of chicken, I don't even want to eat that no more. And I haven't really. And I'm at the point of, well, what are you gonna eat for meat? I don't know, girl. I haven't really been, and I've really been considering cutting all meat out. But I haven't fully understood a vegetarian diet or the pyramid of what all I need from what food, because while fighting for my life, I didn't understand how much protein is in this or that. I just know that I need this or that. You know what I mean? Or it irritates me when I eat this or that. But now I'm going to try to meet with a nutritionist and see if I can eliminate meat. I've eliminated a lot of dairy at times, unless it's processed dairy, like cheese dip or like those things that I can pour on. And I'm back at an eliminating point, but I don't seek a lot of treatment for some of the diseases anymore. I just do at-home self-management now, just because after that fear and from last surgery in 2018, I kind of like put my middle finger up at every doctor I had, except for the kidney doctor, because I had to make sure I wasn't doing dialysis, because I can't like somebody take those kidneys. I'll die. So I still go to that doctor, but I'm now at a point where I'm going back to doctors on a regular again, and I'm starting to pick up my life back into pieces.
Well, it gets time consuming, right, and overwhelming. Like, I go through periods where I'll take like, I'll just quit talking to my doctors for like a couple months, and then I'm like crying. I'm so sorry, like I need your help, you know. But you need a break. I feel like my whole life is IVs and doctors, IVs, doctor surgeries, IVs, doctor surgeries. Like,
I do. I know.
You just need like a break from it, but you really can't take a break.
No, you know? I thought when I quit that I was finding myself for the first time in my life because I didn't have an IV. I didn't have to go to a doctor. I had nowhere to be. I had no bladder installations to get. I had no injections, no needles. No one's poking me. I have no bottles of pills. I have no regimens. I have no refills to go get. I just have me. Well, what the heck am I going to do with that? Like, I took care of the kids today. I've always done that. Took care of the dogs. Okay, now what? I've got all this time, and there's no doctor blowing my phone up telling me where you at. They call me the runner. So are you running again, or are you coming back to the office? You know, you had an appointment. So I'm like, So I actually started running, and I was like, maybe I could just run. And I'm like, that killed me. I'm not healthy enough for that. So I was like I was still recovering. Walking and running just wasn't for me. And like then I started like networking like with pyramid businesses, selling some It Works, selling this, selling that. I'm like, that's fun and all, but it still doesn't take up enough time of my day. So I'm like, what do I do? So I started like trying to do like marijuana groups or this or that, and I was still doing nonprofit work with my sister and stuff. But because it wasn't like my organization and stuff, I didn't dedicate as much time to it. So I'm like, okay, well, what are we gonna do, sis? And eventually we would do stuff over there. But I'm like, all right, well, now that program's over, I'm back bored. And I was like, I'm gonna do my own thing. It took like about a year for me to discover like, what is my cause? Like, what would I do? I don't even know. So then I realized over the last year that for 15 years I've talked to random strangers about medical. Like I have friends that are mutual friends on Facebook, or I made a post or someone commented on something and they realized I too have that disease. And oh my God, she talks about it. Oh my God, she posts about it. Ooh, I'm going to message her and ask her, like, what's going on with my body, or ask her, like, the doctors told me I have this, but they didn't really, like, when the doctors tell you have gastroparesis, they don't tell you what it is or how it does. They say, oh, here's some Reglan. Oh, by the way, that's a medication in the black box. So if you start feeling like you're getting paralyzed or your face is numb, come on back to the office. Oh, yeah. Okay, wait, what does me being paralyzed or my face being numb from this pill have to do with my stomach and me vomiting? So this is going to help me, but it might paralyze me. You know what? I'm going to take it. And so we do, not knowing nothing of nothing, because we're just ready for whatever answers, and that's what they said. So it's like we find ourselves at this rut where we're, like, willing to do anything. And, after that, it's like, no. You got to find a way to live through it all as we're fighting, because they don't even know what we're fighting for. They have we literally in the last 10 years came up with a diagnosis and a treatment plan. So they don't know what the future holds. They don't know, even if they say there's no cure, but we don't know that. We don't know if there is a cure. We haven't stumbled across the right doctor yet that has discovered the cure. Maybe one of our generations of our children will be the cure, because they watched their mother suffer for so long that they determined that they were going to go out, get a job, learn, become a scientist, a doctor, and create a cure. And their ambition, somebody out there that is going to be involved with this, I can feel and I know that they're going to, the only thing that's going to make someone drop their life to dedicate to this is someone that is affected. So either a ripple effect or a first-hand effect. But I feel that whoever it is coming from our next generation, and that what we do today, what we do now, will hopefully help them one day, whoever they are. But I definitely feel like this department and this disease right here needs more help. We need more treatment plans. We need more medications because half of these don't even work, and it takes us.
For sure.
Okay, who wants to take a medication for 6 months to know that it didn't work? For 6 months we're still at square one while trying to mentally tell ourselves that this pill will fix it, and that's just not the case. And there's no just take this pill and it's solved. There is many different options. There's many different treatment plans depending on what's going on with your body, but there's no one that will fully prevent or fix. If that was the case, the medications you were offered back then would have stopped things, and you wouldn't even be where you're at today had the medication worked.
Yes, exactly.
So everything that they've done for you hasn't been able to be reversed. No pill was able to stop it or slow it down. No form of treatments, no nothing. The Botox Band-Aid it for a while, but a Band-Aid, for those of you who aren't aware, my terminology for a Band-Aid is whenever you do something to eliminate the symptoms that you're complaining about, but it doesn't actually fix the underlying cause. So, yeah, we Band-Aid it, but the minute that Band-Aid's old and wore off and falls off and we're back at square one, that Band-Aid won't work again. And I've heard that many times. So now we waste time, secondary or third, like you did 3 times trying Botox, where it's not working. It's just not going to work for us anymore. And then we move on to plan B to only realize, does plan B work for us or not? Because there is no us. With this particular disease, there's 3 different types. You have you're lucky enough to not have diabetes, correct? Because you have not mentioned it yet.
Correct, I don't have diabetes.
So, and I didn't think you did, because if you did, you would be talking a little bit more about some of the vagus nerve damage as well, even though that is a big issue with gastroparesis, but it's a bigger issue with the diabetic forms because you have 2 diseases attacking that nerve now. So, we have that department. In that department, a lot of the treatment plans that you talked about don't work because of that diabetic. But then for people like you, the treatment plans you chose do work for you some of the way. But then we get to a point in our journey where it's a dead end. And then the third department, where they don't even know how you get diagnosed, they get lucky enough to try all those treatment plans from Party A and Party B, because we need to see if you have diabetes, draw the diabetes out. Maybe it's dormant, and then once we realize it's not that, then we move on to the other options back to the category you're at. So we get a little taste of both forms of treatment. So we're like a double guinea pig here. But there really is no full guinea pig that we say will be like, okay, well, if you do this, the guinea pig will survive, it will make it, everything will be good, and everything will go back to its original state. That's what guinea pigs are technically for in the science experiment, where we would learn how to get everything back healthy. And then we would replicate that onto humans. So at this point, if the guinea pigs haven't even been found to cure, how are we going to be? Just a thought. And I don't know if you're aware, I have a friend who has dogs, and her dogs have gastroparesis.
Oh, wow.
I said, well, wow. What do you mean, dogs can get it too? I know a lot about dogs. I didn't know that. And she starts telling me about it, and, I realized that other animals have this too. And I kind of want to explore, well, what are we doing for them? Like, what are they taking? And she would tell me, oh, my dog gets some pill from the vet, and the dog takes it, and my dog's good. She quit vomiting, she quit doing all that, and we buy some special grain of dog food. I'm like, okay, so the special diet and a pill, okay. But what pill is that that's working for your dog? Because most medications that humans take, dogs can take too, like a Tylenol or, things like that.
Yeah.
So I'm a little interested in that. So I reached out to her, and I'm waiting to see if she's interested in doing a podcast about her dog, because I want to know. Inquiring minds are dying to know.
Yeah, I want to know.
Yeah. So and if she doesn't want to do a podcast, then I'm going to ask her for like the actual names of the medications and things like that. But yeah, I'm interested in hearing that, because that could be something that could further help us in the GP community. If they could figure out a cure for dogs, and they could figure out how to get rid of it in dogs, then why can't we do what the dogs did?
Yeah.
I'm willing to try.
Yeah.
We have lots of guinea pigs. We're already guinea pigs, so let's just get in line from this line to that line. Like, okay, I mean, let's line them on up. So I'm a little interested to see where that later goes, because I mean, you got to start somewhere, and ain't no human, don't no human wants to be a guinea pig on something that hasn't already been a guinea pig. So at least these dogs are already kind of trying. So if it works on dogs, I mean, I'm interested to see how it would work in us, because dogs can get all of the same diseases we get, even seizures, heart issues, all of that. So I feel like they're even their reproductive system, they can get similar diseases. So I really feel like that might really be where our answer is, and not a real guinea pig, because guinea pigs don't actually have the same effect on their stomachs that we do. So honestly, I really feel like the dogs might be something I want to further elaborate on, and I want to reach out to a vet and find a little more out from a vet and what she thinks and what they treat. And I was even considering doing like a podcast where I call the vet and just like ask questions as if my dog has it and I need to know what meds to give. Like, I don't know, I want to look into that. But I definitely think that somewhere along the way we are going to get more answers. So what's your next, I know you said you had something coming up. What's your next treatment option? Like, what's the next plan?
So
Those shots, I thought?
Yeah, so right now we're just trying to get those heavy metals down. There is an IV option, but my hospital, like my particular hospital that I go to, they won't let anybody administer it. So we're going to try oral stuff again and see if that works. And right now that's kind of the main focus is the liver, kidneys, and to get those heavy metals down.
Okay.
As far as the gastroparesis goes, it's just managing symptoms. Unfortunately, that's just kind of where.
Have you met with infectious disease doctor?
I have, yes.
Are they working with you currently?
They are. They're working with my doctor right now. I actually have a friend though who had the heavy metals and she was able to get the IV form, and it was an orthopedic doctor. He was the only one who would do it. No other doctor would do this IV treatment. So I'm going to see if my doctor will actually reach out to this doctor and see if they can work together, and I can do that because I've tried the oral stuff already and my numbers just keep climbing. So obviously it's not helping. So why do we keep trying it?
I definitely feel like anything that goes in your mouth isn't going to do anything for you no matter what we do. And if it's not going to if it doesn't reach the other organs that we're trying to, because obviously we already determined that those don't work on you, so why are we going to try to force them to work with this pill? If it wouldn't work with food, what makes you think the medication can reach there? If my food can't reach that organ, my medication ain't going to reach that organ. So at this point, IV would have to be it. And I don't know if you're in a state where you can just call that doctor yourself and make an appointment, but I often recommend that because sometimes doctors aren't as willing to bring other people onto the team because that means that I've already had to roll out all my own treatment options before seeking a third party. And sometimes I don't want all your treatment options. I just want that third party. But sometimes how the order of operation works based on your state, I have to legally try all my options before sending you to a referral.
Yeah, that's exactly how it is here, is we do have to go through that order.
Yes, that order of operation.
It's so frustrating because I know, like, my doctor that I have now, she's great and she will talk to anybody. She'll fight for me no matter what. But we do have to go through those processes,
So do you have any bone issues or any foot issues or any deterioration of the bone?
So we're gonna do that. We're gonna do like a bone density scan. I've broken like my ankles and everything millions of times, but I'm sure I have bone density.
Yeah, I have osteoporosis.
I haven't had a period since I was 21 from being sick. So that can cause like osteoporosis and stuff.
Yeah, I have osteoporosis. I got it in my early 20s. And that will get you into the orthopedic, and then from there, the orthopedic can treat you as a whole. So use that backdoor option and get that bone density check done. And you don't even need the bone density test before going. You can go in based on pain in your bones or hurtness in your bones and get a referral for the bone issue, and then from there move on to the whole body.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
I would look into that backdoor option. Use your initial complaint about whatever organ they're treating, and then go in with that initial complaint, and then now that you're their patient, they can treat you as a whole instead of identifying the one complaint. And obviously, we can't complain about a bone density scan when we haven't had it yet. So that couldn't, in order to get in the door, you're going to have to go somewhere else to get that scan first. But he's fully equipped to do the scan if you just come in and complain about your hip pain or your back pain, or where generally my left hip is always worse than my right because your left hip holds more, like the way that it goes. So my left hip is always where my pain starts most of the time. And when I first went into the orthopedic complaining about the pain and things like that, it actually led me down a better route to get more diagnoses and better help. But your pain in your bones would be your first complaint that would get you, without any other lab work, that would get you into the orthopedic, because the pain, they can't really, there's no lab work for that. There's no test, there's no scan, there's no, you just go in and the doctor will figure it out. So
that makes sense. And I do have, my bones ache all the time.
Well, they have to from you being malnutrition. There's no way you have enough calcium, magnesium, or D3. Your D3 has got to be low. My D3 was low, and I wasn't as sick, and I was able to digest way more food than you. And I have, me and both of my children have a vitamin D deficiency still, and my daughter has GP as well. So there's no way, and that without that D3, your calcium can't process. Without the calcium not processing, your bones deplete, and when your bones deplete after so long, you get a negative scan and then levels on your scan, and those negative levels give you your diagnosis. And I did injections of Prolia for, I think, every 6 months for like 3-4 years, maybe, I want to say. And that built my bone density back up from osteoporosis to osteopenia, which is the pre-stages of osteoporosis. So I was able to revert it, and then I quit those treatments, and it went right back down. And I probably need those injections again, but because I don't have a doctor and I fired that doctor, I'm in the process of working with new doctors. So over the next 12 to 18 months, we'll be slowly implementing some of my old treatment plans back in. But I'm going to do them slowly. I don't want to just jump on to 10 different treatment plans at once. It's a lot of side effects and issues to identify where they're all coming from and from what doctor caused what. So I kind of do them on I always say, you know what? This year I'm going to pick whatever organs are the worst, and I work on those. And I always just focus on 2 or 3 diseases each year. And then whenever I fix these ones, whatever ones I wasn't fixed are kind of getting worse now, and now it's their turn. And we just flip-flop in and out every couple of years. I'm rotating which disease I'm fighting for this year. Because I can't fight for them all. And I can't mix all the medications.
Looking at everything, like the stomach, the intestines, liver, it's so overwhelming.
It is. And I've got a disease in every organ, so there's too much for me to do, or too much for me to ever be bored with, to be honest. But I'd rather be bored than to be focused on that, because I feel when I focus on it, I draw it out way more. And right now, my body is at like a point where it is happy in its universe, and the universe, I've been for, I want to say like, I don't even know what year, like 2014 or 15, I quit taking medications all the way around. And then I've had some forms here and there based on like what was going on. But then after 2018, I haven't taken anything, not even a Tylenol. Nothing. I've literally gone green, marijuana-wise. And that has been my medication of choice because it helps all of my diseases. There's no secondhand. Like if I take something here, then I notice this disease over here is off, and now I've got to adjust those meds, or I've got to add this med because I'm on these 2 meds and I got to balance that, or I depleted this and now I've got to add this vitamin back because of that medication did this. And I'm just trying to figure out how to eat, poop, and pee, and not vomit, and hear and see. Without a pill. And everyone's like, oh, well, I do that every day. What do you mean? Like, well, I got a duffel bag to be like you. And so it's like, okay, we're not the same. So I better hide that bag because the minute you're going to tell all my friends I'm a druggie, like, or I'm this or I'm that, or girl, did you see that bag? She had a giant bottle. Like, and I'd be like, okay, well, do you even know what they are? No. Well, then why are you telling me? Like, I've had friends come by and like say something, or like I've got a counter full of like 40 bottles of pills, and they're like, oh, she's always over there drugged up. No, I'm sick up. I'm sick.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not drugged. There aren't even narcotics. Like, this one makes me pee. This one stops me from peeing. When I'm peeing too much, this one makes me eat. This one stops me from vomiting when I eat. This one, and they're like, nah. So, I've been there, girl. Like, and trying to slowly work my way back there, I guess, because I need them pills, sadly, to say.
Yeah.
But I don't want them because I can't digest them. So why do I, like, I don't even know if I vomit them up today, so I don't even know what my levels will or won't be because I vomited like 60 times and I took like 40 pills, so, could all 40 pills be in there? Or maybe 20, like, and then I don't digest them, I'll poop them out whole, or I'll, vomit them up whole, so, you find yourself re-looking to see, well, then you're like a hypochondriac about your poop. Did I poop the pill out? How long has it been? I took that pill an hour ago. Did I vomit? I vomited this hour. Like, oh no, I gotta retake that pill because I vomited it up.
Yeah.
So I need that pill today. That's the whole reason why I took it. So now that I need to know if I vomited it because I can't take it again if I didn't vomit it. So, like, I need to know. So, like, you find yourself vomit searching for pills you're not going to take again, but you need to know if it came up or not, So it's like I just gave up, honestly, at some point on some of these fights, and I had bigger fights that came my way to where I'm like, oh, well, that's not even a concern anymore right now. So, yeah, it's like this is very hard, and I hope to bring awareness on these battles that we're kind of laughing about, but only people that have been through this can kind of laugh about it because it is not a funny situation, but I mean, what else can we do but smile and brush it off? Like,
to laugh to keep from crying. To kind of keep it light because it's always so, so tense.
Yes.
I joke like several times about my colon being missing like all weekend long. We were just making jokes left and right about that, but
me and my daughter just made a joke about her in the bathroom because me and her have a problem that whenever we vomit on the toilet, like when we're trying to go number 2, and then we have to vomit, like we're on the toilet already, so we're looking for the trash can, the sink, or the tub. And during the process, if we vomit while we're pooping, we pass out. I don't know if everyone's like that, but I've passed out several times, and she's passed out before. And the other day, she was like, I almost passed out, Mom. I was in there, and she was like, I filled the tub up and the toilet up, and she was like, I don't know what happened. And she's like, I didn't feel good, and I felt like I was going to pass out. I'm like, I know how that is. And we were talking about it, and then, the other day I went to the bathroom, and she was like, don't go in there and pass out. And I'm like, I'm not. But, if I don't come find out if I did. So, yeah, like, we kind of joke about it around here, but it sucks. It's horrible. I'm really glad, though, that you got a good support system, and if it wasn't for me and my daughter supporting each other, I would be crying about it a lot more, I'm sure.
Yeah, I have a few friends, too, that have it, and we all kind of grew up together, so that's kind of interesting for me, too. We grew up in a small town in Nevada, and so interesting to me, so many in this small town have it. Like our graduating class, I want to say was like 38 people or something like that. And so for like 5 people to have it in that small town is weird to me. But we have that support system too. Because, it's hard for my parents. They do the best they can, but it's hard for them to watch their daughter be sick, So it is, so I do have those friends, like last night I was up at 2, and I make sense too because I was miserable, in pain, couldn't sleep. So I just texted one of my friends that has it, and she was like, yep, I'm awake, miserable too. So we just text each other all morning, you know, so that helps too. It sucks because I don't want anybody to go through it, but at the same time, it's nice knowing somebody who goes through it that can relate.
Right. They can really relate and like deal with it with you and like understand or
you don't
be there.
feel so alone, for sure.
Yeah. So if your mom was listening, what would you say to her?
I would thank her for being my rock. She's my best friend, my shoulder to cry on. And I would like to say sorry for causing her so much stress in her life. But I couldn't have a better cheerleader by my side, that's for sure.
Definitely.
So I owe her all the gratitude in the world. You know, when I got my ostomy, I was worried about her because she's like a fainter. She can't see her kids in pain. So when I got this ostomy, I was like, needed somebody to help me with it at first, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And she just stepped up and she did it. I could not have done it without her. You know, she helped put the bag on. It was so painful to do it at first because you're healing and there's stitches everywhere.
Yeah.
And it just hurts so bad. And you think you got it, but you don't, and so
it's hard to be brave and push yourself when you're in pain and go. It's kind of like pulling the Band-Aid off. Someone else pull it. I'll just close my eyes and, you know.
Yep, that's exactly it. And I would just lay there sobbing, and she would just do it. And there was one time, because I have such sensitive skin, the bags that they sent me home with were just irritating my skin, so my skin was raw, and we couldn't get a bag to stick. And we tried for 15 hours, and that poor woman did not sleep until we can get into the doctor and they could get a bag that worked, you know. But she's seen me through a lot, and she's held my hand, and she's been my strength when I couldn't be. She's had to wipe my ass for me, and I had to, you know, do everything for me. She's had to bathe me after surgeries where I can't lift my arms, and so I just owe her a lot. She's had to sacrifice a lot. You know, I'm 31 years old and she's still taking care of me.
And as a mom, we don't always expect that. But, you know, whether we signed up for it or not, we love our job and we wouldn't change it for the world. Like, you know, and being able to be that person for you, like as a mother who deals with a child at times who's sick, I wouldn't change it. I love that I'm the one that can help her through that, and I'm the one that can give her the advice, and I'm the one that can tell her like a little bit of insight too, because I deal with those, so I also have firsthand experience. So I feel like I've been blessed in a way where I can live those trials and tribulations to now pass on and tell her, oh, don't do that, don't try that med, girl. You know, you know what I mean? Like before, as a mom, it's hard when you're not sick yourself and you've never had it. You're like, just give my kid anything she wants to feel better. Try it, do it. Let's try it. Anything. So it's like it's definitely brought in me a lot closer to accepting my sicknesses now that I know she's sick at times, because I can, you know, take my fight and be like, oh well, I did this and they did that, so let's try this with you. And you know, this didn't work for me, and like you got the same genetics and your body kind of works the same, so you know, why don't we just not try that this time? Why don't we try this? And you know, being able to be there, it changes you as a mom, and in a better way though, like a positive way. And I know like your mom probably loves the fact that she can be there for you, and it probably gives her, like how your niece does for you, it gives her something to live for too, you know, like I can't go anywhere no matter how old I get. My daughter still needs me. That drive, you know, you can be each other's drive.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, I look forward to following your journey. Are you interested in a follow-up?
Yeah, for sure.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate you coming on today, Meggan.
Thank you so much for having me on and doing this. I think this is going to be really good for the community. I really do think getting people's stories out there and getting the awareness out there, I really think the right person's going to hear it.
Me too. Well, until next time, you guys join us on Sprinkle Some Love with a Cause. Thanks.